about the work from home outfit life. So hopefully you enjoyed our hot takes on that. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So let's get started there. Um, you know how it is. And do the webinar for y'all. So yeah. Okay, wonderful. All right. So first I wanted to just introduce myself briefly. So hi everyone. I know some of you, but if I don't know everyone, my name is Krista, and I've been working for Packback for about 3 years now. And in a previous life, I was a educator, a K-12 teacher, and I have a master's degree from Wilkes University in education. I really like using tech in my classes when I was teaching, and that's how I ended up here at Packback. So welcome. And this is my colleague Olivia. She's also here to be my support, so she can answer any questions that you have in the chat, or if you put them in the Q&A. So please feel free to jump in. I'm not the best at multitasking, but I'll definitely answer them all at the end if Olivia doesn't get to them. Olivia, also feel free to interrupt me at any time if you do see a really good question that we should talk a little bit more about. So awesome. Thank you everyone for coming and for taking some time out of your busy day here to get everything started. So I'm going to begin by sharing my screen and the topic here of the webinar. So as you guys all signed up for this webinar today, it is called Creating a Writing Assignment in 15 Minutes. And this is definitely something that maybe you read the topic and you were like, wow, that sounds like a lot. You know, how can we really create a writing assignment in 15 minutes? But I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and a little bit of help from Packback team here on how you can utilize that. So you can be able to use deep dives in your class either over the next few weeks, which is the end of the semester here, or also in spring or summer and beyond. So let's get started on today's agenda and where I think we can go on helping everyone find a writing assignment and develop it today. By the time you leave here today, you will definitely have a lot of different options for a writing assignment, whether it's something that you can create using some of the tips and tricks, or also some of the templates that we've created for you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the importance of writing assignments, because why should we assign writing? It's definitely something to talk about first. And then how to decide what assignments to do deep dives. So you're looking at your course, where do I go from there? We'll talk about that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is show you some ready-to-use deep dive template assignments that the Packback team has created and put together and put in a community that I added everyone to. So if you saw an email comment earlier saying, you know, you've been added to a community on Packback, that's what that came from. So we'll get to that in a second. And then finally, I'm going to show you guys some other tips and tricks to save you time. We'll get into those towards the end, some other options if the templates or the things we talk about today aren't really fully fulfilling what you're looking for your course with a writing assignment. So like I said before, feel free to jump in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll go from there. So first, I just want to touch on the importance of writing assignments because, you know, I talk to professors all day long. I really know that there are a ton of constraints on your time. So you want to think before you assign something, why am I doing this? What are the benefits? This is also something you always want to share with your students, the why behind you assign something to them, because that helps them get the motivation to complete it and do it really well and up to your standards. So here at Packback, obviously we are big fans of writing in all different forms. Packback's purpose statement is Packback's purpose is to help every student develop their unique voice writing skills to express it. So essentially, we want to be able to get the tools, whether they maybe don't feel confident in their writing, or English isn't their first language, or maybe they didn't have the best writing instruction in their K-12 environment. So we want to be able to support them so they are able to then express and say what they really want to say in their writing. So some other reasons you would want to assign it though, because you might be thinking, oh, if I assign it, that means I have to grade it, or I know I have very little time to explain this or talk about it in class, but it's something that's really, really worth doing. So I really want you to all consider, I'm sure here you definitely are considering that you want to do a writing assignment, but keep in mind that there's a couple of reasons why you'd really want to consider it in your course. So writing is going to deepen your students' thinking and increasing their engagement with the course material. Writing really slows down thinking. So they really have to take time, be more careful, use more of a sustained analysis when they're doing a writing assignment. It also individualizes student writing in a way that really any other assignment, student learning in a way that any other assignment can't do. I mean, think about things like multiple choice exams or other things. It's not at the same level as writing. So if you want to have your students with having greater learning outcomes and longer term learning, definitely writing is the way to go. It also gives us a window into our students' thinking and learning as well. So you might discover, I hear this all the time from professors on Packback questions, I didn't even think about it that way, but the students brought that up in their writing and it really surprised me. Or I didn't really realize that that was something they were interested in. I want to talk more about that or go more in depth in that in the class. Also, you'll see what might be confusing them or what gaps they might have in their learning as well. Writing can also improve your relationship with your students. So not only is it important to tell your students why you're assigning things to them, why you want them to do writing, but also you want to have a positive relationship with them. But depending on your modality of your class, right, if it's online or a large class, you might not be able to really form the relationships that you want with all of your students. But writing is really an individualized activity. As you're reading, you're going to learn about where there might be gaps in your students' knowledge, what type of thinking they're using, and that will help you inform yourself for giving them the best instruction going forward. And finally, something I hear from a lot of professors that I talk to is writing is a skill that students need in life and almost every career. And the best way to improve that is to write more often. I often hear from deans or department chairs or people who are talking to people in the industry, you know, students need to be able to write. They need to be able to do this. And there's obviously different forms of writing or maybe different topics they might be writing on or different ways, but basically every career is going to have some sort of writing communication. So we want to make sure that we're assigning those so that they can practice so that they can be most successful. So briefly wanted to touch on why you want to assign writing. Definitely, even though it can take a lot of time and a lot of effort. But that's why we're here with deep dives. So deep dive is there to help students think through their writing. So a lot of barriers when I've talked to professors before is there's big gaps in students' writing skills or enormous differences. So they really want students to do writing, but they don't always have the time to coach or teach students about writing. Packback Deep Dive supports you there. We'll also have professors who say they have a lot of challenges with their time and also grading. So we have the technology here that can help you coach the students, and that way they can be able to really express themselves and get the support that they need while they're writing. So if you haven't had a chance to use deep dives yet, I wanted to first briefly just show you it and give you some of the background on the different features. So how we support students and professors is we have a digital writing tutor. So that way it's there. So students are getting the instant AI feedback. Studies have shown that the most impactful feedback for students is when they get it immediately or as close to immediately as possible. So obviously we can't always be there when our student is doing the work at 3 a.m. or there's how many of them and there's one of you. You can't clone yourself, but Packback Deep Dive AI can help the students with support while they're doing it live so they're able to learn and improve as quickly as possible. Also the digital research assistant, which is going to give them AI feedback on their credibility. I hear from professors a lot that students just have a gap with information literacy and they really want to support students on that, but they're also trying to teach them biology or psychology, right? So the research assistant is going to give them feedback on their sources as well as help them generate the citations correctly, which can also be something that students have a lot of anxiety about because they don't want to accidentally plagiarize. And then finally, we have the digital grading assistant. This is something that is huge because I hear from my professors using dives that using the grading assistant cuts their grading time in half. I've also heard because of the support the students are getting from the digital writing tutor and the research assistant that the quality of what they're getting is better. And if you've ever done a lot of grading at once, you've probably noticed that if you are grading a really good paper, that's very easy to grade. It's when there's a lot of issues, then you have to really take the time to give a lot of feedback, make a lot of corrections that can take the most time. So if we're supporting the student before they turn it in, that will also support you when it comes time to grade. So I wanted to just briefly show you what it would look like. So I'm going to jump into the test community that I added everyone to earlier. Feel free to open up as well and play around. And we're going to get to these template assignments in a second. If you didn't get added to the test community, by the way, and you want to put your email in the chat, my wonderful colleague Olivia can add you to it in a few minutes. So thank you, Olivia, volunteering you for that. So essentially, if we come in and we're a student, we're going to go to the deep dive assignment. We're going to click into Start My Deep Dive. I'm just going to put in some demo text so you can see what it looks like here. But essentially, the students are going to get the live feedback as they're writing. So on the right-hand side, they're being supported in all the different categories and different ways that we talked about. They're also going to get support with their research as well. So when they're putting in quotes or websites or things like that, the AI is going to help give them feedback on the credibility of the source. And then it's also going to help them create the citation so they can add it to their works cited as well. So that's how Deep Dives is going to support the students and then also support you when you go to grade. So for grading, let me just back up here into the community. So for grading, so if you have a student who has submitted an assignment, you will be able to go in and go to submissions and see the graded assignment there. If my internet works. But the benefits with the grading is you'll be able to see that the AI has given the students some feedback before they've even submitted it, and therefore will also give an assigned suggested score. Now you're the instructor, so you have full autonomy over the score, but you can see what the AI has suggested, and you can change it if you'd like. And then finally, you really get to focus on the content and an ideas portion of the writing assignment, which is probably the piece that you want to spend the most time on with your students' work to begin with. So now that we've briefly gone over deep dives, let me switch back a little bit into how to decide what assignments to do on deep dives. So this is something that I talk to professors all day long about. So they're like, okay, Krista, I want to assign writing. I understand why it's important. I trust that it's going to be easy and it's not going to take a ton of time, but where to start? So this part can be tricky. That's what we're here to give you some tips on brainstorming with. This is something that Olivia and I do with professors all day long. We take a look at their syllabus and try to decide where could be a good spot to try a writing assignment. A couple different ideas here on where you can look at your syllabus or your course setup already or a course that you're planning and kind of think about how could I take this into a writing assignment and then how can I make it into a deep dives? So essentially, one thing you can do, and it seems obvious, but I have a lot of professors don't realize that they can do lots of different assignments on Packback. So for example, one of the things you can do, and the easiest way to jump in, is you can take an assignment that you already have that is writing, and then modify it and put it into deep dives. Seems obvious, but I have a lot of professors that think I don't have writing. People do. Very commonly, one of the things people don't realize all the different types of assignments that Packback can do on deep dives. For example, lab reports, or maybe you have an essay on the test. So what you could do is then make that into a deep dive essay, an annotated bibliography. They're all things that I've seen professors do on deep dives that other professors have in their but they don't realize, oh, that's something deep dives can do. It's not just for your traditional essay. So that's something you can do, and that would be really easy to replicate, just taking the instructions you already have, copying and pasting it, and then modifying Packback's rubric and AI to help save you time. The other thing you can do is convert a different type of assignment. So maybe you have an assignment already that you like, but it's just really not scratching the itch that you need it to. So what you can do is convert a different type of assignment into a writing assignment and into a deep dive assignment. For example, I had a professor recently who was talking about how they had a study guide that they would give to the students. So they would give it to the students and they would just fill it out, get ready for the test, right? But they wanted to make it much more challenging, more personalized, put more of the ownership onto the students. So what they did was then convert that into a writing assignment and into a deep dives assignment. So instead, what they were doing is having the students read and create their own handouts for the other students in the class using deep and making sort of an outline on the chapter. So that was converting an assignment into a writing assignment and into a deep dive. Another professor that I had work with recently was giving students draft feedback in class, and it was taking a lot of time. It was a small class, but they still had to go around and give every student feedback as they were writing. They really wanted the students to be able to benefit from each other's insights. So what they did then was transform the assignment into a peer assignment. So then the students, they used it by posting their work on the Packback discussion. And then the students would be able to review and give feedback to each other. For example, I might post my in the discussion platform, and then Olivia come in and give me feedback on it. So essentially, this is just basically the description of the SAMR model. So you've heard of the SAMR model before. It's a model that was popularized to help professors, teachers, educators convert assignments that they already have into assignments that use technology. So how do we take something we're already doing and substitute it with technology or augment it with technology? It also lines up with Bloom's taxonomy because you can see as you go higher up in the SAMR model, you go from enhancement to transformation. You're also going into the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. This was popularized by Dr. Ruben Fuentedura. And essentially, you can think about it as a way to think of an assignment you already have and how can you take that into deep dives to enhance it or transform it. So taking a writing assignment that you already have, such as an essay on a test, and then putting it on deep dives, that would be augmentation. But taking an assignment that you have that the students are doing one thing, but it's really not satisfying your goals, then changing it into a deep dive or peer review or discussion, that would go into modification here of the SAMR model. I just wanted to throw that out there because that's helpful when you're thinking about what assignments you already have that you might want to change. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, I don't have any writing assignments that I want to change to start with. So how do I come up with some for my course? So here are two things that I would think you should reflect on to kind of come up with some different options. So the first one is think about a course concept or skill that your students struggle with right now. How could practicing or spending more time with the material help their learning outcomes? So here's a professor I worked with recently that said that on the test, the students weren't really fully understanding some of the concepts. It was an econ class. And they were, trying to figure out how can I get the students to really understand, not just sit there and memorize like the definition of this is that. That is helpful, but we wanted to push them to the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So what the professor did was, we'll work backwards from that. If I want the students to really not only just know the definitions, but then be able to apply it, how can we make a real world scenario that the students could utilize and practice with? So what we did was we came up with real world situations and we put those in as deep dives that then the students would have to write about. So that way they were taking definitions and concepts that they learned, and they were really synthesizing it together in the writing. And the professor has reported back since doing that this semester that their exam scores have gone up significantly as well. So that's kind of a way where you can go a course concept or skill where there's a gap and create a writing assignment from that on how your students can improve upon it. Another thing you can do is think about your course goals. Is there an area where students are not achieving all of these goals? Maybe when you were writing out your goals on the syllabus for the students, there was something that you really want them to achieve, but after teaching the class and developing the class, there was kind of one that they weren't really hitting. So this is a great example of a place where you can use a writing assignment to close those gaps. So think about, okay, they're not really achieving this specific goal. So how could they demonstrate that in something that's writing? And then think, okay, based off of that, how can I create a deep dive that would fulfill that? Oh, Lorelai, I see your question in the chat. It's the SAMR model, SAMR, SAMR model, yes. And so after you've done some brainstorming on the gaps that the students have or the course goals they're not really hitting, if you still can't really think of something that you would want to turn into a writing assignment, Another thing you can do is think about their future careers when they graduate. What are they really going to need to be able to do? What type of work are they going to be doing day by day that they will need assistance? They will need to be able to excel at. I know we all have focus on our individual courses, but it's always helpful to think, what is the big picture that students need to graduate with? And maybe your course is a more of a general elective. You can still think about, well, in 5 years' time, what are those things that I really want the students to know as good members of society and be successful, right? So think about, based off of that, how could you have practice that now with a writing assignment? For example, I've worked with a marketing professor who used Packback for the first time this semester. And she knows that when students graduate, they have to do a lot of press releases. And that can be kind of a very stressful thing because you have to be very careful in what you write. And it has to be worded very specifically. Sometimes you're doing some damage control or following up on something that might have been not the best publicity for your organization or your company. And so what she did was she had them practice that by finding real world examples of companies that had kind of a sticky situation or a university that had some sort of a scandal, and they had them practice writing press releases. And she's really happy with that. And she said the students were also commenting on how beneficial it was to practice that now as an undergrad, because it's an actual real life skill that they're going to need when they graduate from marketing. Now, this last one is a bit controversial. So you all know that we are an AI company. We strongly believe in using AI for good, which is why we use instructional AI. So AI that is supporting the students as they write and not doing work for them. And I also know that some universities also have specific regulations against this, but if you feel comfortable or if your university is okay with it, you can always use an AI source, AI sites such as Claude AI, personal favorite, or ChatGPT, and tell it the type of course you have, and it will brainstorm a list of assignments for you. And it's nice because you can interact back and forth. Claude AI, I'll put the link to that in the chat. You can also upload documents. You could upload essentially your, I don't know if I can put it in the chat. Olivia, would you mind putting it in the chat for me?
You got it.
Thank you. Essentially, you can upload a document there. So you can upload a syllabus into Claude AI, and it can analyze it and say, based off of the syllabus, what could be some writing assignments. So that's something that you could also do depending on what your company or your university policy is. We'll get more into that in a second, using some generative AI to write a writing assignment to save us some time.
Yeah,
But
Krista, if I could just jump in really quick.
yeah, of
I
course.
had a professor share an idea with me yesterday, actually. They used the Packback questions and they wanted to use deep dives, but they weren't sure how. And one of the things we came up with was having students write sort of mini reflective essays based on the discussion board question. So she has students pick a question they were really interested in, whether it's something they asked or something one of their peers asked, and they write a really pretty brief, 1 to 2 pages essay in deep dive, sort of essentially doing a deep dive into one of those questions that they asked. So it's a great way to use Packback products together, but it also gives students the opportunity to pick something they're really passionate about that maybe they couldn't dive into as deeply as they wanted to in the questions format. So that's the first time I've heard that idea, so I wanted to share it because yeah, the professor was really excited about it, and students seemed pretty receptive to it as well.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Olivia. That's a really easy way because you're taking what the students are already doing and then utilizing that to create your deep dive writing assignment. So definitely very good. And reflection is a really important piece of the learning process as well, which is something they're already doing if they're using Packback questions, reflecting on it to create a question, but then to take it deeper and scaffold that into a deep dive writing assignment. That's a really cool idea. Thank you. This is why your experience manager is a great person to talk to. And that's one of the tips that we'll get to too. But the next thing I wanted to touch upon was ready to use deep dive templates assignments. So the benefit of having Packback is that you have a whole team here many of us who are former educators, like myself and other people on the team, who are here to support you. And one thing that the team did was to create some templates that were ready to go. So if you leave here today, and I've added you to the community already, then essentially you are already in possession of a couple different templates that you can very easily modify and utilize tomorrow even, because they're all created as very course agnostic, very general. So you can utilize them right now, put them into an existing community or an upcoming community, and just with a little editing, you have an assignment ready to go. So you have some ideas, but where to go now? So let me talk to you a little bit about the templates that we created and they put into the template community. This is by no means all of the templates that we have out there, but it was definitely a starting point that I wanted to get to you all. We also put these templates into Word docs. So if I didn't get to add you to the community, also put in the chat the link to the Word doc as well, where you could then put it into Packback. But we wanted to put them into a test community for you. So that way you're able to just go in, grab them, and copy them into your own communities and go from there. So the different templates that we created was a journal article reading summary. I know a lot of professors have students reading journal articles, but they want them to be able to really understand what is analysis of a reading versus just reading it and repeating it, right? Another one we did was current issues in our field, because I've talked to a lot of professors where there's all kinds of current events going on and they want students to be able to be in the know on the most current things. So we have a writing assignment that you can assign to students so they can find that. We made what was a very general template for a research essay question. So this one, you'd obviously have to personalize a little bit more with your topics or give the students some of the areas of research that you would be interested in writing about. We also have a lot of classes on the platform that are kind of general introductory classes. Like, so the students are starting out, say, in like the healthcare field. So before they get very deep into the course material, we want to give them a chance to think about, why is this the career for me? And really write about that and reflect on that. So we put a template in there for that. A comparison essay. So comparing, contrasting is obviously one of the levels there of Bloom's taxonomy. So this one is where a student can take a past event and then a current event and compare and contrast what happened. So for example, if we were talking about maybe something with something in the health sciences, they could do the plague during World War One versus the more current COVID pandemic and compare and contrast the two. And then finally, one that can be used in literally any class, and I have it termed as almost an extra credit, but you can also sign it for credit, our end of term reflection essay. So Olivia was speaking about student reflections along the way as they are reading through the discussion and then reflecting on that. This is one they can do at the end of term and really share the takeaways from the class. It's a really fun one for the students to do because they can reflect on how much they've grown. And also then you as the professor can see how much more successful they are after being in your class and learning from you. So it's a really good one as well. So before I get into the community and show you some of these live, how to get access. I added everyone who signed up for the webinar to the community. So you should already see it on there, but I'll show you in my screen how to get to it. And you can choose the templates that you like and then put them in your own community. Or if you don't have a community, I can show you how to set one up as well. And then finally, you can edit the template to fit your course or topic. So some of them do have some spots where it says insert topic here or insert course here. So those you might have to do a little bit of editing on. It's very light editing. And then you can choose when your due date is, publish your assignment, and go. So like I said, looking at these assignments, you could easily set some today for your students to start working on tomorrow. Or for the end of the term reflection essay, you could do that one, or for next semester. So I'm going to jump into the template community here. So this was the community that I created and I sent to everyone this morning before the webinar started. So hopefully you were able to log in and see it. And you can see these are all of the assignments that I was just discussing, the template assignments that the Packback team has created. All of these have a prompt. So they have the instructions as to what the students are going to be writing about. And then they also have the rubric, which you can definitely modify to make it the correct amount of points that you want. But we customize the rubric with a very simple content area rubric, as well as some very important AI graded elements that we thought would be appropriate for each of the writing assignments. So go ahead, if you haven't already, you can log into Packback. And let me show you where you can see it when you log in. When you log into Packback, you're always able to go to your profile. If you're getting in there through Canvas or through another LMS, in the top corner, you can always see My Account, and that's where you can go to My Profile. My Profile will show all of your current communities, upcoming communities, or past communities. So I created the Deep Dives template community for you all, so you can go ahead and click in there, and that's where you'll find all of the different assignments here. Feel free to look through them and kind of look through the prompt and see if this is something that you could adapt for your course. All of the prompts also come with the guiding question. So the guiding questions are those essential questions that students have to answer. These are very general, so you could always customize them depending on which direction you decide to go in with the template. So now that you're in the template community, if you logged into Packback, how do I then add that to a different community? So for example, if I come on to Packback and I see my current community or my upcoming community, and I want to add one of those assignments from the template community, our genius engineers figured out how to, if you are a professor in a community like this one, those prompts are now saved into your bank. From there, you can now add it to any other current or upcoming community that you have on Packback for forever. So now that I've added you to this template community, you now have access to all of those. Now, if you don't have a community right now and log into your profile, you can always go to create a new community. And then you can still pull those prompts into this community. Or if you have a community, but maybe it's not, it doesn't have deep dives yet, obviously you'd want to do this for a live community because the students are in there already. But if you have a community for spring and you'd like to try out writing some of these templates for your spring course, just go into the community that you want to add deep dives in, go to community setup, and edit community details. That's where you can add in the deep dives tool. So if you already have a community that doesn't have that yet, you just select the full platform suite, which will include deep dives, and then hit save. If you're in a community that has deep dives in it, like I said, add deep dives, so the student's already in there. Only use that if it's already in there, but for spring you can. You can go ahead and click on assignments. And in the community that doesn't have any yet, you're going to see this question mark here. So what we're going to do is pull those templates from the template community into one of your current or future communities. So you go ahead and click create new assignment. And then you'll notice it says save prompts and save rubrics here. So what you can do is click on select a save prompt. And you're going to see those prompts from the community we were just looking at in your saved prompts now. So you'll be able to very easily port them over and edit them. Of course, my internet has been a little slow today, but for example, if I want to do the why a career in this field in my current class, I would go there and click select prompt. Now I might need to edit it a little bit because like I said, they're a little general. So for that, I can click view or edit this prompt. So if I wanted, for example, to make this a little more specific to my class, I could then add why a career in this healthcare field. Or if I wanted to change any of the requirements or change any of the guiding questions to something specific to my field, you can go ahead and do that and just hit save. So that's how you can pull in the prompt and then edit it as well. Same thing for rubrics. Once you're in the template community, you'll be able to then pull in the template rubrics. So you just select the rubric. And then once again, maybe you want to edit this because maybe you want to change the point value. You don't want it to be a full 100%. You want it to be maybe an extra credit or maybe worth whatever point value. You can come here and edit this. And even if you have one of these template assignments and you're not exactly sure if it's going to fit, it's always great to start with something. One of the quotes of our CEO right now, Kelsey Beringer, she says, no, great teachers steal, right? So we created these for you. So feel free to steal them and make them your own. Feel free to convert them into something that would be helpful for you. because we want to encourage all the professors that use Packback to be able to utilize this writing assignment tool and to do it as easily as possible. All you have to do then to assign your assignment is just put on a due date. You can also put in an open date if you'd like, time zone, if you would like to allow late submissions, and then click publish. So that's it. So I know at the beginning, maybe some of you signed up and said 15 minutes, Krista. I don't really know. But now that you have these to your disposal, you can definitely pull these in from your template community, edit them briefly, and publish them within 15 minutes. You could have a writing assignment later today ready to go for your classes. I really hope the template community was very helpful in that way, or that some of the assignments were, what you were looking for. If they aren't, definitely speak to your experience manager, because this is something we're revamping for spring, is we're going to make a bank of template assignments for professors to be able to see. So you guys are getting the sneak peek first version of that. But if there's anything that you don't see in here that you would like to see, please definitely let us know. Your experience manager can pass along the feedback to me, and we can work on that for the future. So that's what I wanted to share with you all about the template assignments. Hopefully you were able to try one out or see one that you would like to try in the future. Please, if you have any questions, let me know. But there's one more thing that I wanted to talk to you about with the few minutes we have left here, and that is other tips and tricks you could use to save you time. So maybe you looked at the deep dive templates. You're like, Krista, I'm on board. I want to do a writing assignment, have some ideas. But the template wasn't exactly what I wanted. Here's some other ideas. So as you know, your Packback Experience Manager or Curriculum Consultant, we do very similar things, is here for you. So please schedule time with us. Like I said, most of us are ex-educators ourselves, and we absolutely love looking at a syllabus and coming up with some ideas. We also all work with so many other professors. Odds are we know someone in your field or someone on our team does, and we can kind of think about, oh, what's something that they did and how can we modify that for this class? So please, please, please schedule time with us. That's something that brings us joy and one of our favorite parts of the job. So if you really want to brainstorm with us or just bounce some ideas off of us, or you have an idea but you're not sure if it'll work or if you can modify it exactly the way you want, please utilize us as a resource, because we really want to help you and assist you to be able to use writing in your classes. The other thing I'm going to come back to is generative AI. So you can also use generative AI to brainstorm ideas or to ask for rubric creation help. And like I said, I know this one can be a little bit dependent on your organization. So I know some universities really don't want professors to upload any sort of university data or information into generative AI. So maybe you just don't feel comfortable with that. That's totally fine, but it is definitely a tool that you can utilize. I'm not saying for it to do your work or teach your class for you. It'll definitely never replace you for that. But it can be a good tool to use you to help, you can use to help prepare. So I've really talked about Claude AI before. So I'm going to show you here how you can utilize Claude AI as well if there's still some gaps. So one of the things I mentioned was you can use generative AI to brainstorm. You could just simply ask Claude AI about your class and then have it come up with some ideas for a writing assignment. But a cool thing that Claude has is that you can upload a document. So if you click right here, you could upload your syllabus in here and ask it to pull up some writing assignments based off of that. So that's really a nice benefit that Claude has. Another thing you could do is just kind of give it a description of your course, and it will help you from there. So just to kind of show you how I would do this. So if I was a professor in an environmental science class and I wanted to create a writing assignment, but I'm not talking to my EM, my experience manager, until next week, what should I do? If I feel comfortable making a Claude account, I can ask it, create a writing assignment. So essentially what it can do is here it's giving you a list of a couple different topics that the students could do. So it's giving you some different prompts, some different ideas, going through a couple different options. But say you don't really like that prompt that much, and you're like, well, I had an idea, but it's not one of the ideas that Claude gave me. You can give it more specific instructions. For example, how could I make this? Oh, it's getting kicked out. Let's see if it'll let me. How can I make this about an assignment focused on the student's personal care products? So, for example, a student would look through their shampoo and their deodorant and their makeup and kind of do an analysis of the different chemicals in there. And then also, what are their effects on the environment, either as manufacturing or when the chemicals go back into the ecosystem? So this could be, kind of a way to clarify and get a little more specific prompt if you want. So from there, I could go into my Deep Dives community and create an assignment and create a new prompt. So from there, what I could do is put the instructions from Claude. Obviously, I can modify it a bit, but you have something to start with already to put in as your prompt. Another thing that we have in Deep Dives, like I mentioned, is the guiding questions. And these are optional, but you could also ask Claude for some suggestion with that. So if you like this writing assignment, you could ask Claude, what are some guiding essential questions for this assignment that you would use? And you can see Claude has given me a lot. I think if I was creating this as an assignment for students, I would keep it to like a maximum of 5 because they might get easily overwhelmed with that. But just wanted to show you how you can then put in that information into your Deep Dives prompt and save it. You can also utilize it for creating a rubric. So you have your prompt now. You're going to have the students write about their personal care products. How do they then get how they're going to be graded? So the nice thing about the Packback rubric is that a lot of these things are the AI graded objects. So you can first go through them and decide what's the word count that you want. Do you want them to do research and citations or not? Always turn it off. You can set the correct citation format that you want. But then you're going to get down to this piece. You might be like, I don't really know what to put here for the content rubric. And so that's another thing that you can then ask Claude for some help with. So for example, it's already helped you brainstorm this assignment. You can ask it, hey, Claude, help me with a rubric. And now Claude doesn't know you're using deep dives, obviously. So it's not going to, give you the information you're going to need to input the pieces that are AI graded. Your experience manager can help you with that. But you could always take a look at the pieces that Claude puts in that would be content level. So for example, self-reflection. This is a very personalized assignment because the students are writing about their personal care products and the effects they have on the environment. You also want them to reflect on, how they could maybe change things or do better. So what you could do there is see one of the categories from Claude and then convert it into the rubric on Packback Deep Dives. You can also then, of course, assign the correct point values that you'd like and continue to do that maybe for some other categories. So if you are not able to book a time with your experience manager or come up with anything right away, or maybe the template assignments aren't really what you're looking for, this is another option. And like I said, I know everyone's not super comfortable with using the generative AI, or their university might not want them to do that. But if you're feeling comfortable, it's a great way to brainstorm and to help save some time, which is what we're all about here, right? Creating that writing assignment in 15 minutes. All right, so wrapping us up, hopefully you left here today with some ideas as to how you can utilize a writing assignment, whether it's from one of our provided ones, some ideas how you could work with someone on our staff, one of my colleagues, some ideas how you could use generative AI to help you create one, or just some ideas on where to go in general, because it can be really hard to start or to implement writing if it's something that you haven't done before. But it is such a worthwhile assignment type. So I really encourage every person, if you are able, to utilize it, try it out, and please give us feedback and let us know how everything goes. Like I said, we're going to be creating a larger bank of writing assignments that professors are able to utilize. So we definitely want to make sure that we are creating that bank with the things that you'll need to be successful. I also want a little plug for our upcoming webinars. So we have one in 2 days' time with our CEO, Kelsey Beringer, and as well as the Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs at Union College, Lauren Fakowski, I'm saying that correctly. So that's on Thursday, and you can sign up on our webinars page on our website, and you'll be able to see that one as well as get sent the recording after it's done. All right, that's everything I have for everyone today. I really appreciate everyone who was able to come and share with us. And I'm really quickly checking in the chat to see if there was anything that I missed. Do I or my students have current access to Claude? So Claude AI is a free service right now. And if your students would have access to it, they do have to sign up. So you can sign up with any sort of valid email address, but it is currently absolutely free to use. So yes, they should have access to it. You might just need to direct them to it or show them how to utilize it. Obviously, this is not a plug for Claude AI. It's not our company, but it's something that I've utilized in the generative AI sector that I feel has been very helpful. So if you feel comfortable, definitely encourage that. Any other questions that I've missed? Feel free to let us know. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate everyone coming, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. It is almost Thanksgiving. We are almost there. So keep on keeping on, and it'll be time for a short break very, very soon. I appreciate you all, and if you need anything, you always know you can reach out to your Packback representative. Bye, everyone. Thanks.